Unboxing the Redmi K30 Pro. This is the base model, the cheapest Snapdragon 865 smartphone you can buy in the world right now. Let's see what it's got for us. The K30 Pro is the cheapest Snapdragon 865, the cheapest flagship phone. This has also been rumored to be coming outside of China, especially in India, as the POCO F2, especially this base variant, which has a slightly different setup to the more expensive models and the Zoom edition. You still get 33 watt fast charging on this base variant. The difference is that you get the last generation of RAM and storage, LPDDR4X RAM instead of LPDDR5 in the more expensive phones, and UFS 3.0 instead of UFS 3.1. However, the processor is the same, the Snapdragon 865. The design is the same, but a difference again is in the cameras. The camera setup on the non-Zoom edition has the 64 megapixel main sensor, an ultra-wide camera, a depth sensor, and a macro sensor. I'll get onto the macro sensor in a bit because it's actually really special, and I think it's the best macro sensor I've ever used in a smartphone. It's a really capable macro sensor and actually makes macro photography quite interesting. You get a 6.6-inch display, completely bezel-less, no notches, no cutouts. The front selfie camera is in that pop-up. So you get this completely uninterrupted display. It's an AMOLED display. Xiaomi or Redmi said it was a Samsung E3 display. It has HDR10. All around it's a really good looking display, and of course bezel-less is a really good thing. But there are no high refresh rates on this phone. No 120Hz, no 90Hz, just a 60Hz AMOLED panel. There have been some news stories saying that people have actually managed to get an 80Hz refresh rate on this screen by messing around in the settings. I don't advise that because you're probably breaking some of the settings rules, but anyway, it is apparently possible to get 80Hz on this phone. The bezels on the phone actually look quite symmetrical, even the top and bottom bezels. I think Redmi have done a good job here, but all in all I think the phone feels really good. You also, because of this AMOLED display, get to take advantage of an always on display when the phone is off. It's a nice touch, and you can see some of the time and other settings without wasting much battery whatsoever. Yes, the 90Hz option isn't available, but this is a really good looking screen, and a lot of people are going to go for that bezel-less screen over the other options on the market that use these bigger cutout displays. It is a full HD display, and Redmi have fit a really big 4700 mAh battery in this phone. At the launch event, they said that they chose battery life and size over that 90Hz refresh rate. In any case, it certainly is a bigger battery all around. And I guess Redmi made those decisions based on their customer feedback overall over the last few years. It's a 20 megapixel selfie camera with the ability to shoot in 1080p only, and there's no slow-mo options on there. You can record in 4K on the main camera, the ultra-wide camera, and zooming in as well, so that's good to know. You get a 64 megapixel mode, or you can shoot 16 megapixel normal images. Honestly, the most surprising thing about this phone was the macro sensor. It is so good. This is a really great shot that I got with the macro sensor, and it was actually the chain on a bike. It's a really cool sensor, and it definitely makes macro photography more fun. There is a zoom edition of this phone as well, which does add a 3x telephoto zoom if you want to get that, but the price does go up quite a bit from this low price in the base model. It goes up to 4K at 60 frames a second, and there is an 8K mode as well, but it's a little bit jittery and I don't recommend using it too much on this phone. Overall though, even without the 90Hz display, I think it's a really good phone that Redmi have put together here, and you get a big 20:9 aspect ratio. And even though this base variant does have some of last year's internals in terms of the RAM and storage, it's still very powerful. You can play PUBG on the highest settings because of this flagship processor. Even though there won't be any high refresh rates on the screen, it still does help to make the game smoother. Xiaomi and Redmi said they put one of the biggest vapor chambers in any smartphone in this phone and the other models in the range. That is apparently supposed to keep the phone cooler when you are doing things like gaming, so that the processor doesn't have to throttle as much. Overall, it's a good experience playing PUBG on this phone. You do get a mono firing speaker though at the bottom. There are no stereo speakers in this phone. That goes for all the more expensive models too. The extra height in the phone with that 20:9 aspect ratio, or width when you're holding it like this, is definitely a good thing as well. You just get more playing area. But in any case, I'm glad that Redmi gave us this option below 3,000 RMB, which is about $450 US. And they've given us the more expensive options too. So you can choose what is important to you if you want to spend more and get the Zoom editions, or if you just want this low price to get the actual phone, and that's Snapdragon 865. Subscribe for all the latest tech news and videos. That's it for now. But I'll see you in the next one.